You know that sometimes dangerous game where you fall backwards and depend on a friend to catch you before you hit the floor? Well, coming up is the English singer who plays that game at every concert, trusting his audience to catch him.
Casey's Coast to Coast. Coast to Coast.
And speaking of clothes, we're now up to a singer who became known for dressing to match his songs. He's the show-and-tell rock and roller 36-year-old Englishman Peter Gabriel. As many people know, Peter was the original lead singer of Genesis, and original was the word for him. He would change into different costumes for almost every song, and sometimes 2 or 3 changes for one song. Back in 1973, writer Al Rudis wrote, "He can turn into an old man, he can become a tough gang member fighting for his turf, he can be a mysterious extraterrestrial with bat wings on his head, and even metamorphose into a neurotic flower." End of quote. During his next phase, Peter Gabriel dropped the weird costumes, but not the surprises. For one concert tour, he shaved his head. For another, he covered his face with glittery, glowing paint. But today, Peter's dressing like himself. He takes the stage wearing a loose-fitting rumpled suit and no bat wings or makeup. At number 4, here's a man who can't be second-guessed. Peter Gabriel with his recent #1 smash, Sledgehammer. You're listening to American Top 40. My name's Casey Kasem, and here we go with the second hour of our weekly survey of the 40 most popular songs in America. And now we're up to the song by an artist who's an old warrior in the fight to free political prisoners, Peter Gabriel. Peter was on that recent tour to benefit the human rights organization Amnesty International, along with acts like Sting, U2, and Bryan Adams. They called the 6-city tour a conspiracy of hope. But it wasn't the first time that Peter Gabriel had helped the human rights cause. More than 6 years ago, back in 1980, when Peter released his 3rd solo album, rock critics questioned one of the songs on that album. The song, Biko. It was written in the memory of Stephen Biko, a black South African who died in prison there, jailed for political beliefs. Here's a taste of that song.
Oh, Biko, Biko.
When critics first heard Peter Gabriel's song Biko, they wanted to know, was Peter turning political? Well, here's what he told them, quote, "I certainly don't look at myself as a political spokesman. At the same time, I do look upon myself as a musician with an opportunity to throw some ideas around, and if the song does make a few people question some political situations in their own countries, good." End of quote. Peter Gabriel went on to pledge all profits from the song Biko to the cause of human rights, about $30,000. Then he recorded another song about political prisoners on his next solo album and donated those profits to the cause too. Recently, with his performance as part of the Amnesty International Conspiracy of Hope tour, Peter Gabriel got some long overdue recognition as a champion of human rights. And with his recent #1 smash, Peter got some long overdue recognition as a top solo artist too. At number 29, here's Sledgehammer, Peter Gabriel.
American Top 40.
Billboard ranks them, AT40 counts them down. Now on American Top 40, the story of the English singer whose noble effort failed, but his former bandmates like Knights in Armor came riding to the rescue. It was back in the summer of 1982 that singer Peter Gabriel helped organize an event in England called the World of Music, Arts and Dance Festival, for short, WOMAD. The idea was to bring together music and culture from around the world. WOMAD was an artistic success, but a financial flop. Nobody showed. Torrential rains and a rail strike kept people away. Peter Gabriel and the organization ended up in debt for more than $200,000. And he told writer Peter Grant, "For me, it wasn't so bad because I had other things I could do. But most of the people worked 2.5 years, 80 hours a week in some cases, getting it together." End of quote. Well, in stepped the members of Peter Gabriel's former band, Genesis. Their manager, Gail Colson, who also worked with Peter, proposed a reunion concert to raise some money fast. In October of 1982, Peter, for the first time in 8 years, was back on stage with Genesis. Well, the reunion concert was a success and helped pull the WOMAD Festival out of debt. And WOMAD continues its work dedicated to bringing world culture together. Here's the man who helped start it all, Peter Gabriel, at number 34 this week with In Your Eyes.
American Top
the numbers get smaller and the hits get bigger. Now, I have a tale of trust for you. Do you have a friend you trust so well you'd fall backwards and expect him to catch you? Well, there's an Englishman who tests his relationship with his fans just like that at every concert. He's 36-year-old Peter Gabriel, one of the many performers who are very giving to their fans. A few rock stars have been known to jump off the stage and into the aisles where they can sing surrounded by their fans. And believe me, that's taking a chance. But Peter Gabriel is so trusting of his fans, he's taken it a step further. It happens during the portion of his concert when he sings a song called Lay Your Hands on Me. Peter, at the edge of the stage, turns his back to the audience and then falls backwards into the crowd. And they catch him every time. Flat on his back, Peter continues to sing, while the crowd passes him over their heads. Even though he plays to bigger and bigger audiences as he becomes more successful, Peter insists it's something that he's going to keep doing, because he says it's a symbol of the special bond between him and his fans. At number 16 in this week's countdown, here's Peter Gabriel with Big Time.
Hi there. Casey's Top 40.
On Casey's Top 40, I'm Casey Kasem. Well, now we're up to the latest hit for Peter Gabriel, a performer who's always been ahead of his time. In fact, sometimes Peter's been years ahead. Back in the 70s, Peter Gabriel was among the first musicians to combine theater with pop, coming up with what has become known as performance rock. When he was with the group Genesis, there was always a flamboyant theme to what he did. Sometimes Peter dressed as a gnome, other times as a flower or as a demon. He was always shocking and bizarre. Over the years, Peter's also been ahead of his time with his videos, including his amazing stop-action videos for songs like Sledgehammer and Big Time. And now, Peter Gabriel's setting the pace again with a unique tour in support of his latest album titled Us. It's a world tour that he'll do by boat. And he won't just travel by boat and play arenas and halls, he'll actually do his shows from the boat. You see, Peter's having a massive stage built on deck, complete with state-of-the-art lights and a huge speaker system. The plan is to sail the boat to places where the audience can sit on docks or riverbanks and watch the show. The year-long floating tour will begin in Africa and work its way to India, through Asia, and then across to Central and South America. If there's a harbor or a river near a city, Peter says he'll try to play there. He says that not only will that allow him to perform in countries that have never seen a rock concert before, it'll also allow him to spontaneously decide to perform anywhere he wants. And one of the songs he'll be performing from that boat is the one that moves up a notch to number 25 this week on Casey's Top 40. From the CD Us, this is Peter Gabriel and Digging in the Dirt.
Something in me. America's Top
13 years ago this week, back in 1986, one of the top hits in the USA was by the man credited with giving Amnesty International its worldwide recognition. All of his life, deeply committed Peter Gabriel has done everything he could to help what he sees as worthwhile causes. He's put on benefits to free Nelson Mandela and end apartheid, to help Kurdish refugees, to raise money for Greenpeace. But mostly, it's the human rights group Amnesty International that he's worked for. It was Peter Gabriel who organized the Amnesty International Conspiracy of Hope tour back in 1986, a tour that brought the message of Amnesty International to the world. And the group has often said without his help, it might not have survived. That same year, 13 years ago this week, Peter Gabriel had one of the top hits in the USA. Here's In Your Eyes.